The latest Disney remake Haunted Mansion is rated PG-13, which of course means that you legally can get away with one F-bomb. So my question is, where do you put it? What's up, my dude? Your friendly neighborhood Tony here, and today we are going to go over the latest Disney remake about a Disney ride called Haunted Mansion. No, we're not talking about the 2003 movie with Eddie Murphy. Although, yeah, I have that in my collection. Don't judge me. This particular Haunted Mansion movie is written by Katie Dippold, who you might know from being a writer on the 2016 female-led Ghostbusters movie, and is being directed by Justin Simien, who also directed Dear White People and Bad Hair. The movie follows a single mom played by Rosario Dawson as her and her son move into a, you guessed it, haunted mansion. There she enlists an astrophysicist, a medium, a priest, and Danny DeVito to help fight the spirits that have taken over the mansion and are haunting her and her son. So if you've seen the original Haunted Mansion movie, or if you've gone on the ride at Disney World, there are definitely a number of similarities between those and this movie. And as I do with all my movie reviews, I'm going to go over a lot of the pros and cons, the things I did and didn't like about the movie. Then I'm ultimately going to let you know whether I think this is something you should spend your time and money seeing in theaters. If that kind of thing sounds cool to you and you want to keep up to speed on all the new big movies that are coming out in theaters and at home, make sure you subscribe. So the first thing I want to go over with this movie is the cast, because it has an absolutely insane cast. As I mentioned, you have Rosario Dawson playing the mother that moves into this haunted mansion. She is a medical doctor that is recently relocated to New Orleans with her son after being separated from her husband. There's LaKeith Stanfield, who is really popular right now. It seems like everybody knows and loves him. The one thing that I remember when I think of LaKeith Stanfield, though, is that he played L in the live-action anime remake of Death Note, which was not a very good movie, but he was okay in it. You also have Owen Wilson playing a priest, which is just ridiculous. Tiffany Haddish is playing the spirit medium. You also again have Danny DeVito, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jared Leto is in this movie playing the main villain. And then of course there are some other cameos that I don't want to spoil for you because they're kind of fun when you see them. But all in all, this movie has an insane stacked cast. Disney definitely spared no expense on their budget, at least not when it comes to that. But was everyone good in their roles? Well, let's get into it. As far as the pros are concerned, the first thing that came to mind when watching the movie was that New Orleans itself, where the movie takes place, is kind of its own character, which I thought was really cool. Although they do kind of move away a bit from New Orleans as a character as the movie goes on. But if you yourself are somebody who's into spooky things or ghost tours or all of that, I definitely recommend heading over to New Orleans. I've been there once and it was really cool. As long as you can get over the fact that the streets in downtown New Orleans all smell like pee and vomit. Aside from that, 2 thumbs up. Another positive thing about the movie is that there were definitely a few moments throughout it, although they were pretty sparse, where there were some legit jump scares and some spooky things that went on screen, which I was pretty surprised by, considering that this is a movie that is aimed more at kids, even though it does have a PG-13 rating, so I guess I'm not that surprised. Also, the set design and the costumes that they use in the movie I thought were really cool. There was quite a bit of CG mixed in with that, but for the things that they actually had, the actual sets that they used, I thought it was really well done, and it also really connects to the actual ride itself. So if you've been on the ride, the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney World or Disneyland, there are a ton of Easter eggs for you to enjoy throughout the movie. When I think about performances, I think for me, Owen Wilson and Danny DeVito really stood out. You know, I feel like there are a couple of pros when it comes to these kind of movies that are aimed at young kids. They both have a sense of humor about them and a charm that you just really connect with and enjoy. And I feel like they really did the best they could with the roles that they were given in this movie. You also have the young kid, the son of Rosario Dawson. He was also pretty good in this movie. I think he has a lot of physical acting that he does in it, and a lot of facial expressions of him being like scared of different things that I thought was pretty funny and, you know, pretty well done for somebody his age. Definitely someone to keep an eye on in the future. Now, aside from those few things though, those are really all the pros that I have for this movie. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was pretty bored the whole way through. So let's get into my cons. But before we get into that, this video is brought to you by you. That's right. Thank you for being a sponsor of the channel. Now you may be asking yourself, how in the world am I sponsoring this channel? Well, just by watching. If you're watching the video, I appreciate it. If you want to take it a step further though, consider subscribing or at least click the little like button below the video. That helps out as well. Another thing you could do is use my Amazon affiliate link in the description box below. Real simple. If you plan on buying anything on Amazon today, if you click on that link, it doesn't cost you anything extra and it just gives me a little kickback. Lastly, if you want to be extra awesome and most impressive, consider joining as a channel member. For just a couple bucks a month, you get extra access to me directly. Again, I'll link to that in the description box below, so jump down there and check it out. But even without all that, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. All right, let's get back to it. Right off the rip, the first thing I noticed as far as a con is that the dialogue itself is so incredibly clunky, like truly remarkably clunky. My eye sockets were in pain by how much I was rolling my eyes while watching this movie. Now, of course, in its defense, the original was also pretty cheesy when it came to the dialogue. And in some ways, that's just a side effect of being this kind of movie aimed at a younger audience. But what that doesn't excuse is the poor writing. The fact that there were multiple drawn out exposition dumps throughout the movie. And of course, as you know, one of the major rules of cinema is show, don't tell. If you have scenes where characters are having to just spill out and explain exactly what's going on, you're doing it wrong. And especially in a movie like this where it's not that complicated. We don't need to have it spelled out for us. It just tells me that they did not dedicate as much time or energy as they should have into the actual script. Also, getting back onto some of the cast, I know everyone loves LaKeith Stanfield, and I know that he's a very talented actor, but he just felt like he was in the wrong movie. First things first, I'm supposed to believe he's an astrophysicist. Come on, bro. I know astrophysicists, and my dude is way too cool and good looking to be an astrophysicist. No offense to the homies, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And kind of in line with the whole astrophysicist thing, this movie does this really annoying thing where they just slap the word quantum at the beginning of other nouns to kind of make it seem like it's important and sciencey. And it's just lazy. It's lazy writing. But to get back to LaKeith, I know he's a very talented and a really good actor, but he is just so jarringly different from everyone else in this movie. It feels like everybody else was told, hey, we're just making a goofy kid movie, and he went in trying to win an Oscar. And now I appreciate the effort that he put into his role. That's fantastic. But because the dialogue, because the writing is so poor, and because of the fact that everyone else is in a completely different movie, it's just wrong. It's just a wrong choice. And if that was not necessarily his own decision, but rather what the director was telling him to do or what the writers were creating for him, then that's on them, because you have this incredibly talented cast all the way through. And if you don't use them correctly, that's your problem. And with that difference between all the different members of the team, it just felt disjointed. I wasn't sure what movie I was watching the majority of the time I was there. So I'm going to sum this up real quick and give you my final thoughts here and let you know whether or not I think this is something that you should watch. And I think the best way I can sum it up is not something that I wrote down or something that I thought up, but rather what I heard from a little kid sitting behind me while I was in the movie. About halfway through the movie, this little kid, maybe 7, 8 years old, just says very loudly to his parent next to him, "This movie sucks." And you know what, little kid? You're right. Now look, am I saying the original is some incredible film? No, definitely not. But at least the original knew what it was. It knew what it was trying to be, and all of the people that were on screen in it were on the same page. With this one, I just don't know who it's for. I think it's supposed to be for little kids, but it's PG-13, and the movie has some themes that are way too deep for little kids. And again, being PG-13, you might not let your little kids watch it, so it's definitely not for them. So you're telling me this movie is for older kids or adults? Look, I'm sure some people are gonna enjoy it. In fact, I've seen some reviews and there are a few that are positive. But if you're going into this movie expecting something special, this is absolutely not the one. If you're a diehard fan of the Haunted Mansion rides and maybe the original movie, you might get something out of this. Although my girlfriend who loves the original movie, she watched it when she was a kid, she absolutely did not like this one at all. So go into it with tempered expectations and let me know what you think if you've seen it. Did you like Haunted Mansion more than I did? Or are you on the same page with me? Whatever you think, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And of course, if you want to keep up to speed with all the new movies coming out in theaters and at home, make sure you subscribe. All right, I'll catch you in the next one. Be good.